Hello, everyone. I hope all you are doing good. We are together with Tarek and Baiza today. Today we will talk about addiction. What is the addiction? How we can protect from them? How the addiction diagnosed? Um, what effects can be on our brain and other things. And before starting our topic, I want to ask Tarek and Beza, how are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you?
I'm also fine, thank you.
We're doing good. We're doing good. Fine. Fine as always. So, since we're going to be talking about addictions, what are you guys addicted to?
Maybe that kind of stuff. Films, TV series, I don't know.
Okay,
Not that bad, but also can be worst thing in your life if you don't
exactly.
control.
What about you, Bahar?
I am addicted to coffee. Um, Even like if I feel myself so tired, I say that I need coffee. Like this
Yeah.
is the time. Also, even before starting like hard working, studying or other things, before that, I should drink 1 cup of coffee. Yeah, actually, I believe in that. This will help me. Therefore, when I use after that, I feel myself better because I really believe in that. And I think this is not just with me. Most of the young people, especially, they are addicted with the coffee. Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, I can say that if I'm in depression or I'm in a um, low mood, I eat lots of desserts and sugars, and it can be another addiction.
Mm-hmm. Okay, then. So, how about we start with addictions with the first thing that people get addicted to usually? Coffee. Why do people love coffee? Why do you think
Actually,
people love coffee?
it can be also emotional, I think, because we drink coffee while we study, while we chat with our friends, and we are so used to drink something next to it. But also, there are brain effects of addiction too. We can't explain only coffee addiction with emotional
Mm,
situations. For example, if we are addicted to something to do, firstly, of course, we are not aware of it.
mm-hmm.
If we can think about coffee, we can think about other stuffs, alcohol, smoking. Um, Firstly, we are trying it, and then brain is understanding that it's good because actually it's how can I say it? Um, Stimulate our dopamine pathways, and then our prefrontal cortex and nucleus accumbens and ventral tegmental area. It is a little bit medical, but they are affected, and they note in a place that this stuff is good and stimulate in a good way. And after time, we are being addiction of this because we are being happy and delightful when we take it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we can, yeah, it's being addiction like that.
Okay.
Yeah. Also, coffee has the caffeine. Like when we use it regularly, our body can be dependent for it. And while we are not using that, maybe our body signals that we need caffeine because even the tea has the caffeine. when we drink a lot, it can be dependent. For example, I am from Azerbaijan. Like Azerbaijanian is well known with their tea, and lots of us wants to, even in very hot weather, we just drink hot tea because we are addicted to that. And some of us especially want to drink the dark tea, and although it has so harmful effect on our heart, cardiovascular diseases, but it's the addiction. Like while we are drinking so dark coffee, dark tea, our body dependent on it. But when we use the light one, it will not affect us. Like we can drink, but we don't feel anything.
And I can add that it's, I think, interesting. Also in Cokes or some juices, there is caffeine. And if we are addicted to it and if we don't take it, we can have headache, or, maybe we can't sleep, we can have depression, or somatic sides to ulcer or palpitation. And if we come here, we already noticed that we are addicted to it.
Correct.
And I agree about the hot drinkings in hot weather. It's a kind of addiction, I think. We have it too.
Yeah, mind you, there's also another thing that I would like to add. Drinking hot things on its own, drinking or eating hot food, not spicy, I'm talking hot. Hot food on its own actually is dangerous, depending on a lot of things, but it is dangerous because it is increasing the energy, or yeah, the energy mainly within a cell. And cell needs to be stable so it can actually replicate DNA, so it can actually do a lot of for example, activities within. But due to the high temperature and high, how can I say, high energy, this will actually mess with its stability, maybe cause it to actually malfunction, which is not the best, well, not the best thing to do, you know? So to drink something hot and in a hot weather, that's even worse. So people, kindly, I know you're addicted to tea or something, just calm down. Uh, but now we're talking about addictions from this way. How about we talk about it from a brain pathway? The molecules from coffee or tea or something, how do they interact with the mind?
Actually, I told there are some areas are stimulated if we take a stuff like cocaine or another thing, because cocaine is acting like dopamine or some molecule in our brain. And of course, if we take it, it's increasing, and every time it is stimulating these areas, and they're being addiction to this stuff, and they want it every time. That's how we be addicted. And actually, there is a side effect of this like this too. In our prefrontal cortex, it's the area we decide, we plan our life, or we prefer something to something. It's an important area. And when we use stuffs, alcohol so much, this area has damage, and it can process in a normal way, and we can use our some cognitive skills, some decision skills, and we just have delightful moments, but day by day we are losing some skills of our brain. And I can say that in a healthy brain, prefrontal cortex has a more solution skill, and we see a more functional brain. And how can I say, its metabolism is better and healthier. But if we look at the brain of a person who took cocaine, its prefrontal cortex functions decreased, So day by day, it's losing its brain functions. Of course, we may not understand it in the beginning. We just try it in ourselves, but in long moments, there's a side effect like this.
So these are the things that might bring, for example, happiness to a person. But what about caffeine? Because I think caffeine acts, how can I say? So we have a molecule that signals like let's say tiredness, being tired. But if you drink coffee, the caffeine within like plugs into the place of that, for example, of that tiredness molecule. So it just plugs in. So the tiredness molecule doesn't have anywhere to plug in, causing the person to stay awake for a while longer. But that doesn't mean that it removes tiredness, it just delays it. So it will come later, but just not now.
And probably caffeine has also the same effect pathway like I told, but I also know that it is like nicotine, and its addiction side is coming from our brain is assuming it as like nicotine, but for making us less sleepy, the process can go on in the way you told us.
Mhm. But yeah, like that's so it's not an addiction as much as it's like you depend on it. You need it to function. Due to, for example, the nature of your lifestyle, let's say. And mind you, I wouldn't say that coffee is completely bad. Coffee is good in some ways, but not always. And that also depends on the quantities that you consume coffee with. Like for example, there was a research regarding reproductive system, and it was talking about the sperm cell's speed and how does it reach the egg, for example. And it was mentioned that if the male counterpart does indeed consume coffee, that increases the speed of the sperm cells, causing the sperm cells to be more efficient. And there was some rumors regarding gender of the child too. Like if you drink coffee, the gender of the child could be a bit leaning towards in the favor of male or female. I don't know. I don't really know much about that part, but I know that basically it increases the speed, for example, which is good. Like I wouldn't, which is good biologically, let's say.
I think, yes, coffee is an antioxidant also, but if we take it so much, as you said, uh, actually it stimulates brain so much, but also our brain needs some rest. That's why we sleep. And if we stop it, actually we don't use the coffee in our favor. For example, I read somewhere that we should have finished our coffee in a day at 2 p.m. like this. Then I thought I'm drinking in the morning and in the evening to be, more dynamic. And if we search about these things, I think we can drink coffee in a healthy way and affect our day in a good way too. Just need to some organize our life. I don't say don't drink coffee. Of course we will, because it has also good effects.
So I could also add that it's not only coffee that, how can I say it? Like coffee, it's something that doesn't really have a lot of, something substitutes, but let's talk about some things that we can substitute out of our life. That includes, for example, short-term dopamine exposure. Like this dopamine that you get, from example, from scrolling on Instagram for reels,
Mhm.
TikTok, watching movies and films.
Actually, they have some same pathways, because our natural awards which are increasing dopamine are foods and sex. So they're another examples of increasing dopamine instead of coffee or nicotine or alcohol.
Mhm.
But also nowadays, current years, we have social media and we are so surfing on internet, social media, and also they're offending in the same way. So if we don't control them in a day, of course they will affect like the one who take cocaine, and it will lower our function of brains, and we don't want it. Because I don't know if everybody noticed, but after 1 year, they every time, for example, their screen hour is 5 or 6, they're forgetting something, they have hardening to remember something, they are stopping to thinking about something daily, they're just scrolling, and in a long term, it's really lower our function of brain. And you know, we need new plasticities in our brain to improve our skills. So if we stop improving our skills in different areas, like making speech, writing, or speaking to people, or even new things, or I don't know, maybe learning a new instrument. If we stop this and if we just focus on social media, we are forgetting what we have learned, and also brain is being addicted more to social media and also have negative effect, and you know, erasing the positive improvements in our brain. So we should control, because we can't put aside the social media from our life, but we can use it for our favor.
Of course. Now, you see, social media is a negative thing, but there is actually something controversial right now, especially for parents that rose up very, very soon, very recently, which was video games. Video games are showing positive impact on the brain. Depending on the video game, of course, but mainly talking about video games that require high reflexes, high critical thinking, because like for example, solving puzzles or problems. Also there are the video games regarding decision making.
And
So
I think you have to be fast while playing, right?
exactly. There's like a timer. There is like you need to act fast. And especially if it's puzzle and competitive, because you need to think about how to solve it before the other person does. So you need to be faster.
Mhm.
It's
It's
the some
interesting.
research, yeah, some researches are starting to show that this is actually very useful for the human mind, and it starts improving the mind's activity, which I'm impressed by. So that's why
But
like
also, of course,
hmm.
that's not a note for children that you should play video games so much. I
Yeah, not
think
so much, not so much,
they
but
can play,
play.
but they can improve these skills with another things too. They should control
Yeah,
it.
Yeah, because it also depends on the video games, which type of video games, because
of course.
some of them can cause the stress, aggressive behavior. Mostly the people, children who are gaming the video games, they can be more aggressive, stressed. Even that games belongs like fighting or other things. Actually, while they are speaking with their parents, with their school classmates, they can talk with their hands, with their like legs, because they watch lots of fight video games, and their body behavior can become as a fighting manner. This is the
Exactly,
bad.
correct.
Like, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it can be managed, can be arranged. It's not, everything needs to be within boundaries, of course. Uh, but yeah. It's interesting to see that video games can do such thing. I mean, that's that's one thing. So other than video games, we also have drugs. We talked about coffee, we talked about video games, we talked about movies and short-term dopamine sources. Now we can talk about drugs. Now, drugs, the beauty of them, I think, is that the beauty that attracts people is that how they interact with the mind in a way that causes you to either forget, like it's mainly an emotional addiction, not a serious addiction. Like for example, coffee is not an emotional addiction. Coffee is for work, for example. So you're addicted to something that keeps you working. Now, drugs and alcohol, they are the type that does the opposite. Basically, it stops you from working. It stops you from thinking. It deludes your mind, basically. Now, alcohol, for example, it like stops the mind from thinking, but it also has a lot of other side effects that includes affecting not the heart, the liver. It waxes the liver, causing it to uh like could possibly lead to a liver failure, basically.
Mhm.
So yeah, so that's alcohol, and we also got other drugs that can well degrade the mind and yeah, like hurt the mind in ways that possibly cannot be repaired. But yeah, that's also one way of doing so.
Actually, you told about drugs and alcohol, and I told that they are increasing dopamine because
Hmm.
we feel more delightful with dopamine in our brain normally with food or sex like this or Instagram. But the problem is they're increasing dopamine. Then body understands the dopamine increased. Then the dopamine receptors are getting decreased because body want to control it. And then we want to be more delightful, but our dopamine receptors are, decreased. So we want to take it more alcohol, more drugs, more Instagram, more TV series, more coffee. And it works like this. But of course, if you look at it as a use disorder and a brain problem, it is also we can solve it. So there's a solution, but you should work on it. It's not easy as the treatment of another disease. But for example, if you are an addicted to something, if you are aware of it, I think it's easier to get rid of it. And also, it is curable. But we shouldn't forget that, for example, if you are going to start a new addiction like smoking or alcohol, or even you're not aware of you're addicted to TV series or social media, there is a biological change in our brain. It changes our brain. And yeah, maybe it can turn back, but if it is too much addiction, it may not turn back to the change of our brain. And I can also mention about the addictions effects of different areas, like it affects our social life, it affects our economy, it affects our medical health. And we can get rid of these, but firstly, we should aware of all of these, I think.
That is actually a very good point. Would say such thing. Now, I would like to also add that um, although they are addictions, they have, like as you said, they change the mind's function. Now we have something called brain plasticity for this. This is a term called brain plasticity. Now, brain plasticity is a term that says the body after doing such thing, doing activities, it like you know how we have, for example, a desert, and you just dig a road in it and start building a road slowly, slowly. That's exactly brain plasticity. That slowly after doing something, your brain will keep doing it. It will know how to do it more efficiently. We'll keep doing it, keep doing it, keep doing it. But it might, but in terms of addictions, it will be the exact same thing. Now, to stop the addiction, you'll have to leave this road without maintaining it. A road after a while will start cracking, will start degrading, will start being destroyed on its own. So to change these habits, to change these addictions, I would say it's pretty difficult, but as long as you change it with something similar, with something with a similar outcome, it shouldn't be that hard. It shouldn't be as hard as like stopping it and that's it. Like as you said, as we said earlier, like there are other ways of getting dopamine, for example. No need for getting dopamine out of cigarettes, out of drugs, out of anything like that. There is other ways of changing such things that include other activities. Like for example, in Istanbul, we have kayaking. There's a way to sign up for, kayaking and you can do it. I don't know if it's for free though. I think it is for free. But it's like kayaking is available. The nature around you, surround yourself with bright colors because they even ran an experiment on people who came to pay their how can I say? Not fees, their how can I say it? Basically they parked their car in the wrong manner, so now they have to pay a fee. So they went to pay it, but when they entered the building from the inside was colored pink, which showed that the guys were not angry anymore. Were not as angry as they used to, but before they got into the building. They came into the building, they're surrounded by light colors, gentle colors, and they were like, okay, here's my money. Thank you very much. Goodbye. Very, very easy, very nice, very calm. So, and also surround yourself with greenery that includes trees, grass, flowers, bushes, everything. Just surround yourself by these things because if there's another research that I also read that included that people with greenery around them more when they were growing up proved to show less sadness when they grow up even more compared to the people that are just like surrounded by buildings, surrounded by streets, buildings, trash cans, all of these modern life, modern, how can I say, city day-to-day tools, let's say. Because the brain pathways depend on such things. So, yeah.
Actually, thank you. Good. It's really good to know all of these.
Mm-hmm.
Colors are important. I can mention that, for example, in the beginning of addiction, we have good skills. For example, we may read books, we can ride a bike, we go outside more before addiction, and addiction can erase them from our brain because brain works like this, as you mentioned, neuroplasticity. But also to remove the addiction, it's maybe enough to try to gain new skills except of addiction, and maybe we should just focus on the things which are coming good for us. Day by day, if we increase them, maybe it can be easier to get rid of addiction. That's it, and I think it's interesting to share it. For example, if we're addicted to something after 5 years, and if we remained clean in these 5 years, it is hard to get back to this addiction. But we should be just work harder to get rid of it in these 5 years. That means, yeah, there is a solution of addiction.
Okay, that's interesting.
So, there are some people they want to get rid of that addictions but they are not able because they are addicted that. And there are some hospitals, support centers, they can also help them, like psychologists. They are the people who can help more.
Yeah,
Yes.
especially in the US, I think there's a lot of rehab centers, they're called. Yeah, they're called rehab centers, to help people become sober again. Whether it's alcohol, drugs, But these rehab centers are mainly for the serious things, like as I said, alcohol and drugs. Um, not for and maybe cigarettes too, but not, for example, movies, like, not these addictions, but they have like the serious ones. Now, for the small ones, I think, it mainly goes back to you. You need to regulate that.
But also, we're working on DMD, and we know that DMD families are supporting each other. And if people see some people who are suffer from same things, they support each other, and that really works. And if we have some problem with our something like addiction, maybe finding some people who are um, facing with these problems, it can support us to get rid of these addictions. Because I think hearing same problem from others make people positive and think like, oh, it's not just my problem. Everybody have it, and we can get rid of it. So there is every time hope for everything, I think.
Of course, definitely. So we're now in the conclusion part of the meeting. I would say that if you see that you have an addiction, be very careful with how you act. Addictions are not to be taken lightly, they are serious matters, and be very careful with how you respond to them because they can counteract. There's withdrawals that can happen because of addiction. Try to add into your lifestyle a more healthy substitutes, more healthy, more natural, a better substitute of whatever you were having in your life, including movies, because movies, I mean, they're good just within a limit.
Mhm.
Cigarettes are not good at all. Like, there are some things that we say within limits. There are some things that not even a little bit. And not even a little bit, that includes drugs, alcohol, and cigarettes. They all like counteract with your body. Never try your best to stop them. Movies, it's not a matter of stopping, it's a matter of reducing as much as it's uh harmless, let's say. Instagram, TikTok, video games, movies, they all are in the same category, the short-term dopamine exposure. And that's what I would like to add. Anyone else?
Yes, actually, I think if we aware of we are responsible of our body, brain, other things, and general life and time, we can make more wise decisions before starting an addiction, while in an addiction. So we just need to take care of our body, I think.
Yes, I agree with all of you. And I want to say also as a conclusion, everything is good in their like quite amount. Like I don't mean like cigarette, alcohol, and other things. Even alcohol can be like good healing thing in amount, but apart from that, it can become an addiction, other things. Therefore, as our last episode was the health, we should protect again our health. We should care about our addictions. It can be, although it can be good, but after some time, it can become changed to the bad addiction. So we, as a biogenesis team, advise you to protect yourself.
Exactly. And thank you all for listening. It's been a pleasure again doing another. This is the fourth episode of our podcast, the Biogenesis podcast, with yours truly, Bahar, Tara, and Beza. Thank you so much. Take care of yourself and see you next episode. Goodbye.
See you.
See you. Goodbye.